Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. Got questions for the Bush-Cheney campaign? We'll ask them for you. Plus, is growth out of control or under control? And he's got the rundown.
He's the communications director for the Nevada Bush-Cheney campaign. Greg Ferraro, the perpetual insider, is with us this morning. We'll put him on the hot seat. And then we talked to Stan Thomas, the manager of economic development for Sierra Pacific Power. Boy, is Northern Nevada growing. Sam?
And coming up on the Power Pundit panel today, Bob Crowell, Willie Albright, and the ever-effervescent Dick Gammick. It's all coming up next on the all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Charter Communication.
The Abowed family has an appetite for dialogue. Agree or disagree, have the conversation. All opinions are welcome. Since 1977, Adele's.
Catch us straight, dine at 8. Lucky you. Lucky you. Dance till 1. Have some fun. Lucky you. Lucky you. Taste the shrimp. Have a sip. Try the pool. Play it cool. At the Sienna Hotel Spa Casino. Lucky you. Yeah!
In business, the key to success is not the quantity of your clients, it's the quality of your clients. Almost all companies will tell you they want more sales, but what they really need are quality customers who pay their bills on time. With Employer Link's client vendor screening program, we provide comprehensive reports regarding the financial performance of your corporate prospects, customers, and vendors. Build your business with great clients and vendors. Call Employer Links today at 883-3733.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years. Call 882-1700 to see what we can do for your organization.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad, political analyst Ande Engleman on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the News 4 Broadcast Center, here's Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we've got a terrific show lined up for you today. Greg Ferraro joins us. He's the president of R&R Partners and also the communications director for Nevada for the Bush-Cheney campaign. You have got to be in a tough position as we sit here today with the 9/11 Commission and the refusal right now of Condoleezza Rice to testify before this committee, despite the fact that just about every cabinet member has testified. Isn't she on pretty shaky ground, just saying precedent won't allow her to do it, rather than the fact that 9/11 was completely unprecedented?
Well, two things, Sam, let me say. I don't think I'm in a tough position at all. I think it's been very open, and I think the process from the chairman and the vice chairman on down have been very clear in what they want to try to get to, and that is just answers to help families come to closure on this, number one, and number two is to help find out what problems existed, what mistakes were made, if any, and what we have to do to prevent them going forward. I think as far as the National Security Advisor is concerned, she is, as her predecessors have before her and as they have exercised before her, very concerned about the precedential effect of coming to testify before a congressional committee.
But she's been on every single morning show. She's been on 60 Minutes. She's been everywhere except in front of this commission. That is ridiculous.
Well, I don't know anything more about this than the average reader or television viewer, but it seems to me, Sam, that I think that this administration and this national security advisor are playing it straight up. She said even in the morning newspaper today, she wants to do it, she's trying to cooperate, but there is a very deep concern about presidential privilege, and they're trying to wrestle with that. I'm sure that they'll come to some workable
political
solution.
Situation, though, doesn't this just horrify 90% of the country, Republican or Democrat?
I don't know what you mean by brutal and horrifying.
Well,
those are words I don't think I would attach to this discussion. But let me say this,
an awful
Sam.
lot of people are watching these commission hearings. They're throwing away their soap operas and other shows that they
and
would
they're very concerned about this, and they should
this.
be. But I think there was a quote from someone that says the only people that were ultimately responsible about all this are Al-Qaeda. What can we do, as Chairman Kaine has said on numerous occasions, what can we do to learn from what happened so it will never happen again? Let's not lose sight of what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, Greg, let's use your political expertise. You've handled campaigns and so forth. And we had the Republican on this commission went on television yesterday and said on this week on ABC that he thought this was a real political blunder on the part of the president's side to not have Condoleezza Rice come in and take the oath and to tell in public what she knew.
Well, I hate to disappoint you because I don't have any more knowledge about strategy, whether that she should testify
you have your
or not.
opinion.
But just your opinion.
All I can say is I think this administration has been working forthrightly with the 9/11 Commission and is going to do whatever it takes within reason to make sure that the answers are unearthed and that we can make sure it never happens again.
Okay, I want to change this.
Actually, I'd like to ask one more question, if I could. Richard Clark, in front of the commission, apologized for the failings of the government, for his personal failings in this situation. And a lot of the survivors or relatives of the survivors of 9/11 were extremely grateful that somebody had finally taken responsibility. Does it not make sense at some point for the president, if not heartfelt, at least politically, to accept some responsibility?
Well, I think in the interview you saw him do on NBC several weeks ago, I think he said that. I think that he wanted to reach out to those families and to explain to them that we're trying to get to the bottom of it. Let me say this, though, about Richard Clark. It's clear now, again, only from what I read in the papers, but it's clear to me that he's got two sides of one story, and I think he better decide which one he's going to defend, the one that's going to make him $1 million in a book or the other one that he's testified on.
Okay, I was going to ask something else, but you brought that up, so now I've got to ask this. We saw.
You're going to ask me whether he voted for Gore or not, because he said yesterday he did.
No, I wasn't going to ask that. I was going to ask, how can the president spend a week's time, and most of the cabinet's time, beating up on Dick Clark when we've got a war supposedly going on in Iraq and a war going on in Afghanistan and problems with Medicare and problems, with jobs? And
I think that's always kind of an interesting juxtaposition when you say he's spent the week's exclusive time on that issue. I doubt that he did. I think it's obviously important when someone comes forward and makes the allegations like Mr. Clark did. I think the administration continues to spend all of its time winning the war on terror, spending all the appropriate time working with Congress to make sure that our budget and our spending bills are in
let me
effect.
respond to something else, though. Richard Clark has called, along with leading Republicans, Bill Frist, to open up the secret testimony that he gave a couple of years back, because he says that he has nothing to be afraid of, that when that comes out, it will show that it matches up with exactly what he said publicly and what he said privately.
Well, then we'll just have to wait and see.
I want to change the subject very quick because I know we're just about out of time.
20 seconds.
Okay. Public employees serving in the legislature and serving in office. The Attorney General's come out with an opinion. It's now going before the Supreme Court.
And the Secretary of State's going to ask it to be heard at the Supremes.
Right, exactly. And I guess there was a filing by the American Independent Party
That's
also. Right. And I want your personal opinion. What do you think about it?
Whether the state employees and local employees can serve in the legislature. I mean, I read the Attorney General's opinion. He makes a very strong case against dual service. I don't know, Andy. I think you could probably reason this either way, and so I think it's a very tough call.
Any guesses what you think the court would do?
I gave up on guessing about the Supreme Court.
A good way to end the interview. Greg Ferraro, thank you so much for being here. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Atlantis is cooking up a party. It's every diner's paradise. Toucan Charlie's Buffet and Grill, voted Reno's best buffet by locals year after year. Experience the Mongolian barbecue, new Asian station, and sumptuous exhibition stations filled with fresh entrees, salads, and desserts. Try the Friday night seafood buffet and Sunday champagne brunch. Atlantis.
Would you like to savor a Trento pork chop? Or maybe pasta rags with grilled chicken? Hugo's Tuscan Grill at D'Andrea is a celebration of color, flavor, and freshness. Each dish is created from natural, wholesome foods that is delicious and nutritious. Hugo's is a comfortable restaurant with breathtaking city views. If you enjoy great food and good company, visit us here at Hugo's. It's the best that dining can be. 2900 South D'Andrea Parkway in Sparks.
Allegra is Northern Nevada's #1 offset printing and digital copying facility.
From disc to destination, Allegra utilizes tomorrow's technology today. We specialize in booklets, catalogs, manuals, newsletters, stationery, and envelopes.
Xerox, Docutech, 4-color printing with Heidelberg Speedmaster, desktop publishing and design, graphic services, pickup and delivery.
If you need printing, Allegra can do it. From disc to destination.
To experience the royal cuisine of India, you need some serious magic or simply transport yourself to India Garden, right here in Reno, where you'll discover Indian specialties refined over centuries. Sikh kebab, tandoori dishes cooked in our own tandoor oven, biryani specialties, curries, fresh-baked Indian bread, over a dozen vegetarian dishes, even dishes rare to India like dosa, South Indian-style crepes. India Garden off South Virginia near Sports West. We are India.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Ande Engleman.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers here. Got to keep the panel under control here. Stan Thomas is here. He is the Manager of Economic Development with Sierra Pacific Power Company. And that means economic development across the region. Pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, you cover what region? I mean, you cover all of Northern Nevada, including Carson City? And
we cover everything from 55,000 square miles of our service territory, which is all of Northern Nevada up to Elko, Winnemucca. We cover all of Northern Nevada.
Well, clearly, if a company's going to move over here, the first thing they're going to do is find out about electricity.
Right.
They need that power. So
typically what happens is especially a manufacturer will call us usually first, not always. Sometimes they call the state of Nevada, economic development, but they need power. The big users want to know what the cost of the power is, how quick can you get it to me, and what that cost is, bottom line.
Okay, and what is your availability right now to provide power to these new companies that are just killing themselves to get over this hill and come here?
We have plenty of power. We have a resource plan that's due here in July, which will be our 20-year plan. And so it takes a long time to build a power plant and to plan for that. So I mean, it takes 8 years to build a power plant, a 250 megawatt power plant. So it takes a lot of planning. Right now we have plenty of power. As the companies are moving in.
Is this stuff you're generating or stuff that you're importing?
Both.
But there are some plans on the boards for some new power plants in Northern Nevada, aren't there?
There's talk about them. I don't know all the details of the plans. We add about 50 or 60 megawatts of new power every year when new companies are coming in, as well as, you know, that residential market is a big market for us. So we have to plan for that, and we're positioned quite well. Okay, you had mentioned to me earlier that we're seeing a lot of companies come over from California right now. Correct. Why? 80% of the deals that we're dealing with right now are coming from California. Primarily, what we hear from every one of them is the workman's comp costs. They have doubled and tripled over in California the last year and a half, 2 years. And overall operating costs are just off the charts. And so a lot of the smaller to mid-sized customers that are over there are struggling. And by making that move over, some of those costs go right to the bottom line, and they're able to operate at more of a profit here in Northern Nevada.
Okay, what are your concerns about the environment?
We always hear about growth and you know, how are we controlling this? And what we've done is you can either choose to grow a certain way or just let it grow randomly. Myself and the other economic developers in Northern Nevada are very careful on the companies that they're working with and selecting. We don't bring in big polluters, big water users. Typically, it's a smaller to mid-sized company that is bringing anywhere from 50 to a couple hundred jobs. So you don't see, if we moved a company in that had 1,000 or 2,000 employees, it'd be tough on our location because of our population base. So most of the companies that we see are the smaller to mid-sized customers. Now, every once in a while, we get a big one that's at 500 employees or larger, but typically they ramp up. They ramp up over a 2-year period, so it's a lot easier to manage. But so far, the companies that are coming in, they're finding the qualified people that they need to work, and it's working out well.
So they're hiring people here, not necessarily bringing people over from California?
Well, not necessarily. Sometimes they do bring some with them. Okay. For example, PC Doctor that located in South Meadows. They had 40 employees, high-paying jobs. They wanted to bring half of their workforce, and they were able to do that. 5-10 years ago, you didn't see a whole lot of people moving from California with the company. So they'd come here and hire all new people. But we're seeing some of the companies that are coming are bringing some people, but for the most part, they hire the local people here.
One question I want to ask you. In the past, people have said that one of the problems we were having in attracting new businesses was our university system, our public school system. Are you hearing those kind of complaints from companies, or some companies saying, you know, we're not going to come there because we don't think this school is up to snuff, or are you finding the opposite?
We're finding the opposite. When people come here and see the quality of life that we have and the community that is here, companies are really surprised. They actually are surprised at what we have here. It's the best kept secret. What we have experienced sometimes is that we've heard some comments about the lack of skilled labor. What we're finding out is those are the companies that are maybe paying a little bit less, the lower paying jobs. Those companies that are coming across, like PC Doctor and other financial companies that have come, have found the skills that they've needed here. They also pay higher too. We're after those jobs, those type of companies that create high-paying jobs, and we've been successful doing that the last few years. So.
And you work closely with Chuck Alvey and the other economic development authorities.
We work with all the development authorities in Northern Nevada. Very close. I'm in Chuck's office probably at least once a day, it seems like. We work with
I was that way too once.
Yeah. and then I have a team of folks that work in economic development. Grant Sims handles the Carson and the rural areas, and I handle mainly the Washoe County.
Let me ask you another quick question here, just running out of time. Okay, size of population. Hal Holder's been on this program, who owns the Silver Club and a lot of rural properties, talking about over the next 15 years he expects the population to double. Do you see that when you're working with demographers?
It's going that direction.
Can we handle that many people?
Well, if it's planned properly, yes, we can. Both water, electricity, gas, absolutely. But you got to stay on top of that. They're doing a great job of managing the growth right now. Our plans going out in the future to add new power lines to support that growth is happening.
Let me ask you one last quick question. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll let you get one. Okay, if you were going to buy property outside Reno Sparks, where would you buy property right now?
That's not a fair question. That's terrible.
Let me tell you this. I can tell you we added over 10,000 new meters last year, and we're going to do that again this year. And a couple of our areas that are going to see the more of the explosive growth will be Dayton and Fernley. So both those two areas residentially will be exploding here this next year.
All right, I know you can't give the names of any companies, but there's going to be some major announcements coming up?
I believe so. We have quite, like I told you earlier, we're having anywhere from 3 to 5 new companies coming in a week looking at our area. And this process usually takes 6 months to a year before they make a decision. Over the last 3 months, we've had, I would guess, probably 40 companies at least that have been through here. You're going to see some announcements here in the next 30, 60, 90 days that are going to be surprising and
will you
exciting.
come back and announce them here on this program,
yes,
please?
Will you do that?
Absolutely.
Stan Thomas, thanks very much for being here. We'll be right back with the Pundits after this.
The Abowed family has an appetite for dialogue. Agree or disagree, have the conversation. All opinions are welcome. Since 1977, Adele's.
Your home is an expression of all things comforting and familiar. For custom storage, you can count on California Closets to provide quality, value, and design integrity. The process is easy, combining your personal style with our organizing expertise. We care about what matters most to you, making your home functional and beautiful. California Closets, simplifying home and life since 1978. Call today for your complimentary design consultation.
Join us for the uncorking of the 3rd Reno Tahoe Wine, Food, and Jazz Festival, April 30th through May 2nd at the Reno Hilton. Sample wines, cooking demonstrations, live jazz, and purchase fine art at festival days. Try dishes from the Reno Hilton's finest restaurants and taste wines from over a dozen wineries at the Grand Tasting. And at the exclusive Winemakers Reception and Art Auction, meet winemakers from Cakebread Cellars, Sequoia Grove, Benziger, and others. A fine wine festival that won't need to age to perfection. April 30th through May 2nd, only at the Reno Hilton.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Ande Engleman.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have a terrific pundit panel for you today. As always, joining us for the first time, Willie Albright with the Daily Sparks Tribune, Bob Crowell, an attorney, and Dick Gammick, Washoe County District Attorney. Welcome to you all.
I'm going to start with Willie. You're also the editor of the Comstock Chronicle, which is a Story County newspaper. And we're hearing that Story County is taking some hits on economic development. What's this about water that's disappearing from Story County?
Well, it's sort of an interesting issue that just came up. Story County Properties, LLC, which I think is owned, well, I know it's owned by Proctor Hug, among other people, is they filed a permit, an application to draw water from a bunch of springs out in the middle of the petroglyph area. And it's critical for wildlife drinking as well. They want to pump the water 9 miles to an aggregate plant to keep down the dust. The Story County Commissioners said they were blindsided by this, but it ran in the legals in my paper for a full month, and nobody protested, so now they're doing damage control.
So they've lost it now. Are we, in our environmental concerns, putting plants and animals above concerns for people?
What?
Anybody?
I think that we sacrifice plant and animals a lot of the time for money. And I'll give you a great example right now. They know, there's all this yelling and squawking and everything else about preserving our wildlife, but go right up here to Peavine Mountain on the south side. That has been a deer wintering range for years and years and thousands of years, and yet we've got homes going all the way up onto the south side of Peavine now. And you hear a murmur. You don't hear a squawk. You hear a little bitty murmur about what they're doing out there. So a lot of times it goes the other way. It cuts both ways.
Just jump in here.
I know the Somerset development out that direction, they cut back on their deer access routes as part of their open space plans and putting in a golf course instead. So.
Willie, has the state water master approved this transfer?
It is on his desk at the moment. The county, about 300 Highlands residents showed up to protest at the last commission meeting. It's too late for a formal protest, but they're trying to get some mojo anyway, just by a letter campaign.
Well, if you start moving water, I don't know if 8 miles is outside of a basin, but if you start moving water from one basin to another, you run the risk, and I'm sure the state engineers look at this. You run the risk of creating severe damage to the area to the one basin where you're taking the water out of, because it doesn't recharge, and hopefully that's not happening up there.
It's in the same basin, but there's so little water there that the springs don't run all year round anyhow. So.
Yeah.
And Bob, in Carson City, we transfer water in from surrounding counties to Carson City.
Well, you might. It's not so much the county; it's the basin, it's the recharge area that you're worried about protecting. At least in my opinion, that's what it is. And I think that's the same thing that's going on down in southern Nevada with moving water from Lincoln County down into to southern Nevada.
Andy, I want to change topics here. We have a new Supreme Court justice appointed by Governor Gwynn. What do we know about him?
Justice Michael Douglas is, he's black, and that in itself sets a precedent in Nevada. For the first time, we have Afro-American justice sitting on our Supreme Court. He was a district judge elected in Clark County, and I really don't know very much about him. Do either of you?
Michael Douglas was in district attorney's office in Clark County for a lot of years in their civil division, working as a civil attorney. He was appointed by Governor Miller to the bench, and then he ran successfully for election to that bench. And everyone I've talked to, he's been a very good judge down there. So I'm real hopeful of what's going to happen with the court with him on it.
That's what I get too. Is that everybody he's held in high respect in Las Vegas as a good jurist, and I think it's a good pick, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, I hope we'll have him on the show soon.
Okay. Dick, I want to ask you about what Stan Thomas was talking about. Within the next 15 years, doubling our population. Does that concern you? Are we prepared, say, for example, from a law enforcement? The two big costs tend to be police and fire in terms of city and county government. Can we afford to have a doubling of population in the next 15 years?
I don't think there's going to be a choice, Sam. I think we're one of the 3 hottest markets in the United States on real estate right now. We're haven't eclipsed Las Vegas yet on growth rate, but we're right behind them. So we're staying up there. I don't. When you say, can we afford to do it? I don't think we're going to have a choice in it. What's going to happen, and it comes back to the one word I keep throwing around when I come on this show quite often, is planning. The big 4-letter word. It just seems to be we plan and then we throw the plans out the door and everybody goes their own way, and that's got to quit. This has got to be planned. Can we do it? Sure, we can do it if it's planned and it's done right.
Bob, we've got 4 seats up on the Reno City Council in this next election. Is this growth issue going to be a big issue amongst opponents of the current members of the council?
Well, I don't know, but I would suspect that growth in general is going to be a large issue. Huge with home prices, and also I think with just the social problems that come along with growth.
I know with the Verdi annexation, I covered the Reno City Council's vote on that, and Sherry Doyle had said, well, we're going to take it and get used to it, but the chief of police got up and said, we don't have the men to do a substation out there. She turned around and said, well, cool, we'll subcontract it back to the Washoe County Sheriff's Department.
And
is that how it's going to be?
That's the kind of things that are going on with lack of planning, and it's going to be hip shooting, and we are going to have problems.
And we are out of time.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this timeout. It's America's largest historical district, and it's fun for the entire family. Virginia City is where the West comes alive every day, from train rides to gunslingers. Your gang can explore mines and interesting museums, visit historic saloons, and do some great shopping. Virginia City is the ultimate in family entertainment, and it's very affordable. Come up and stay overnight in our hotels, motels, and RV park. Virginia City, the Wild West at its best.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seemed to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
Atlantis is cooking up a party. It's every diner's paradise. Toucan Charlie's Buffet and Grill, voted Reno's best buffet by locals year after year. Experience the Mongolian barbecue, new Asian station, and sumptuous exhibition stations filled with fresh entrees, salads, and desserts. Try the Friday night seafood buffet and Sunday champagne brunch.
Atlantis. Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Charter Communication.
A wild show coming up tomorrow.
Yes, we have the mayor where he gets asked some really tough questions, but then we have Keith Lee, who's the new chairman of the Democrats for Bush and Cheney, and a couple of Democrats to react to it.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for watching.